And now, our feature presentation.
The best
in the world
is right here,
right now.
Whether you like it or don't like it, pal, learn to love it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome. All right, listen up.
Now it's our time to step forward. It's time to bring the NWA back into the spotlight.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone.
Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
It's the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin, Fraser, DKM, and JCal.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is JCal, and with me are these two handsome dudes. I'm talking about DKM and the former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kevin Fraser. Welcome to the show, fellas.
What's going on? Give y'all a quick smolder.
There it is. I see we've got a full house already. I want to say what's up to Willie. Glad to see you here, buddy. Will the Goblin's in the house. Terry McDermott. Jimmy in the LB. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. We do this every Thursday now. This is the post unofficial NWA POWERRR show where we're going to talk about our legitimate feelings on NWA POWERRR. We are NWA fans. If you don't know the backgrounds, DKM is an NWA historian. He's been following the brand since, 1986, DK? Earlier?
81, seriously, and then I know things from back in the 50s and 60s.
And then
Kevin knows more senseless, you wouldn't know it facts about the NWA than probably our entire listening audience combined.
And of course, Kevin Fraser, formerly known as Kevin Douglas, the modern day hero, mind you, trained by Rodney and Jazz, captured the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship, one of the best, defended that title from coast to coast. Held it over a year, absolutely. And he's also here on the show, and the NWA legacy runs through his veins. He is very much NWA as everybody else that we talk so highly of. So, Kevin, what do you want to say?
I'm excited to actually have the show tonight because we got such good feedback last week for our raw, unfiltered, yet honest review of the show. I mean, I think we were critical in some lights, but I also think that it was just an honest observation, and I think that doesn't mean we hate the NWA or we're not fans, because if we weren't, why would we be doing this on a Thursday night? If we didn't like doing it, if we didn't like the NWA, why would we be subscribed to the show? It's just sometimes you just gotta be honest, and I think there were a lot of expectations, positive expectations and hope going into this show or going into Power, and I think that now that we're paying on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, the bar's been raised, and there's nothing wrong with expecting what you pay for.
In my background with the NWA is I've been covering the National Wrestling Alliance for well over 12 years now. Alliance-Wrestling.com is my pride and joy. It's my fourth child, and over the course of the last 12 years, I've talked to many champions, many promoters, and many names within the National Wrestling Alliance that span like 3 different ownership groups. And I really do love the NWA. I want nothing but the best for the NWA, and I'm here to promote and hype up the NWA because I want to see it succeed. And although I would be foolish to say my legacy is tied to anyway to the NWA, I felt like the last 12 years has been an effort to get to this point right here where we talk about the NWA in a way that we haven't been able to talk about in a very long time. So we're here, guys. We're here to pump it up. We're here to highlight the positives, but we're also going to give you the negatives. And without any further ado, NWA Power episode number 24. 24 in the series, guys. This is the third episode of the... are we on season 4, DK? Is this season 4?
Season 4, yeah.
We're on the third episode of season 4 as it progresses through. Subscribed on Fight TV. It's $4.99 a month. There's 3 episodes. We were told last week by Joe Galley that we'll receive next week. I guess it's a Power Surge, or what is it? Power Surge or Superpower? In the past, Superpower was kind of like a if you're gonna try to remember Jim Crockett Promotions, it was similar to like a Clash of the Titans, but they never really got it to execute it the way I think they wanted to. Of course, the first Superpower episode was preempted to coincide with the global pandemic, and when we got it, it was a watered down version in May of 2020. So we are getting our second episode of Power Surge, or the bonus episode, whatever you want to call it. But this episode had some good things and some bad things. And first of all, we got 2 tag team wrestling matches. Over the course of our 3 weeks of doing this, we have said that the NWA needed more tag teams. And tonight, or Tuesday night, we got some more tag teams. And the first match that we got was Strictly Business, the new pairing where officially Chris Adonis is now a member, the national champion, now a member of Strictly Business, taking on the newcomers, The End, which was the returning Paro, teaming with his All Japan Pro Wrestling tag team partner, Odinson. Kevin, what were your thoughts immediately with these 2 gentlemen?
Well, I'm always excited when I can see Tom Latimer get out there and put the boots to somebody. So I was happy to see that. I think, Chris Adonis and him as a team is a formidable team, though somewhat thrown together. And having really not seen Paro and Odinson on this kind of stage, really, a televised kind of studio situation. I've seen some of their matches before, so it's not like I'm unfamiliar with them. So I was really, this was my kind of match. You have 2 big heavyweight teams going at it, and okay, I was very impressed with Odinson. Always impressed with Latimer, which I think down the road I'd love to see just that match.
Yeah.
I had high expectations for Paro after what I saw when he wrestled. Was it Alex? What's the guy's name he wrestled? Alexander Clement? The blonde guy.
Jordan
Clearwater. There. Yeah, I don't know where I got Alexander from, but so I was eager to see how him and Odinson were together, and Paro to me really was like a dud. It was like a firecracker that you lit and you're expecting to see an explosion, and it just I knew what I was getting from Adonis, and I knew what I was getting from Latimer. But Paro, I don't want to. You're a big old dude. You beat the crap out of the kid, and then you get in there with 2 grown men, and all of a sudden you get soft. And I thought that was a little disappointing. When Odinson came in, totally different. Definitely extremely dynamic, very athletic. I like stiff wrestling, so so I really liked seeing him in there. But when it comes down to what we would say maybe in wrestling, look, I'm the only guy on there right now. when it comes down to the structuring of the match, there was a little bit of a head scratcher stuff for me, because there was some moments where, you know, you had a hot tag from the end. They come in, they're beating everybody up, and then 2 seconds later, you have all of a sudden you have Adonis and Latimer take over and kind of just no sell the whole hot tag. So there were some of those things in the match. The finish was eesh. I just, you know, me and Devin were talking off air about a match we watched a match we both saw over the last day. And, you know, sometimes it's all right, like, just to go out there, let the big dudes beat each other up, have a real basic story, and have a real basic finish. They could have got those guys over clean without having to go through all the stuff to make it look hokey, and take some of the believability out of it. So, my expectations were a little bit I was a little underwhelmed by it, and I really didn't feel like, honestly, you needed a finish for this match, because it'd have been good for both of these teams to come out strong.
DK?
For those of you that think I'm looking distracted, I got two big dogs in here. I don't know who let them in, but they're in here.
Who let the dogs in?
Exactly, who let them in. Everybody say hi to Haas and Beaton. Anyway, on to the match, since Jay decided to completely skip over the World Tag Team Champion interview at the beginning of the show.
I didn't. Okay, we'll get back to that.
You know, if I don't poke fun at Jay during the show, it's not a real show for me. And the match. Established tag team, newly put together tag team. 4 really big guys. Okay, these are the type of things I like. Pretty physical. First complaint. You're making the ref look stupid again. He's standing in the corner, he's not counting, he's telling people to get out of the ring, but not doing anything. And he can't do anything, because if he counts and tries to enforce it, you're going to blow the show. Professional wrestling, that assumes a level of professionalism here. Guys, get your double teams in the count of 5. Now, you'll always get a few extra seconds as the ref tells you to get out and moves you and stuff like that. But 2 guys shouldn't be in there for more than 10 seconds doing a double team, and it should certainly, you know, the ref certainly should not be put in a position to look like an idiot. That's why I'm a strong believer in the fact that refs should be shooters. And then you yell at the guys if they screw it up. Even WWE does that. And so that was my first big complaint. I'm with Kevin. I didn't understand why a guy who they made look like a monster just 2 weeks ago suddenly seemed to be the face in peril. And also, back to the heel-face dynamic, the guy who was kind of the heel 2 weeks ago as the monster is now supposed to be the sympathetic face. And he's probably the heaviest guy in the ring. It didn't connect for me. And then the big positive out of this for me was Osen. I had not seen him before. I had not seen them as a team before. So this was a first for me. And I was impressed with him. I think he has potential to go places, either in the tag team or even in the singles. I don't know if he can talk or not, but you know, if he can't, that's the manager's for. So I don't know. Jay, what do you think of the match?
So I really thought this was, going into it, I had very high expectations. Now I watched this match twice because my first take was, why did you ruin a perfectly good tag team? Because one thing that we know for certain that the NWA is lacking, its weakest link is its tag team division. I mean, you can make the case that that they're starting to build up some competitors, some challengers for Nick Aldis, and in the way they're also kind of building up some challengers for they're also building up challengers for the TV title, and we just had the new national champion crowned. Thunder Rosa can bring in all the women she wants from from Mission Pro, but that tag team roster looks so thin. And the first thing you do is you bring out an established tag team that's made their name all over the world. I mean, they wrestled for All Japan Pro Wrestling and were dominant. They weren't there to go do the job. They were there getting the job done. And then you go and you bring in they were also wrestling for Evolve. And again, getting the job done. They're an established tag team. So you bring them in to lose to a first-time pairing. That doesn't sit well with me. And I know, okay, there's storyline that we don't know, and this is week 3 of an expanding universe with more stories to be told and more situations to happen. Ultimately, though, what I don't care for is bringing in an established tag team just to throw them to the wolves. On second watching, I kind of put Kevin in my ear, and I started thinking about how dominant, how violent Tom Latimer is, and it made me feel like, okay, you know what? Okay, maybe Tom Latimer's a beast, and we all know that. So let's look at this a little bit differently. Paro is a beast, but so is Tom Latimer. We've seen Tom Latimer go toe-to-toe with many guys on the roster, and he's established as a former tag team champion. So, okay, Tom Latimer's a beast. All right, I'm good. And then I start thinking about Chris Adonis. Now, I'm not the biggest Chris Masterpiece fan, but he is the NWA National Champion. They brought him in with a mean streak. He really had a slobber knocker with Trevor Murdoch, and they put him in an effort where he's a mean, bad dude. So when he goes out there, he's gonna take the shorthand. He's gonna cheat. He's gonna find a way to win. He's gonna find a way to get an advantage. So at the very least, they were true to that tag team. So when they put him in against an established brute of a tag team, I can kind of see it now. When I first watched it, I was pissed. When I watched it again, I'm feeling a little bit better about it. Now, I still think there's opportunity for Odinson, and I still think there's opportunity for Paro. I certainly feel like Paro did look a little meeker in this match, and maybe that's because his partner was there and he had someone to rely on. Or maybe it's because you put him next to the Tasmanian Devil of the NWA in Tom Latimer, and he isn't as big as bad as we thought he was. He was big and bad when he was beating up Jordan Clearwater, but he's not big and bad when it comes to Tom Latimer, who's an equalizer, right? So my opinion kind of changed on that, and believe me, some of the I've talked to some of you guys offline, and I was pissed with this result of this match. But on second digestion, I feel a little bit better about this match than I did the other tag match. So this one gets a passing grade for me. It's not my favorite. I'd like to see more of Odinson. I'd like to see more of Paro. To answer somebody's comment, Hammerstone still looks more like Thor than Odinson, but I really do like the tag team The End, and I hope that's not the end of The End. I hope we see them again.
Okay, now let me tell you why Jay's wrong.
Go ahead, DK. Go ahead. Because I want to kind of camp here for just a little bit longer before we move on, because I know once we get to the next part, it's going to be what it is. But I actually like what you're saying, Jay. So, DK, say what you got to say, because I want to camp here just a little bit.
I mean, look, I understand Jay putting on the rose-colored glasses, and if you want to look at it like that, fine. It was bad booking, okay? It just was. This is a show that was supposed to focus on your tag teams. You have an established tag team, and they're taking on a thrown-together tag team. I mean, you used to complain about this in the first season when they do that when thrown-together tag teams would look as good as a tag team against an established one. And you got to be careful. We kind of know some of the things that are going on. And while some people are like, oh, Strictly Business needs to control all the titles. No, that's really bad if they do.
Yeah.
And so at this point, you already got Masters as the national champion. Latimer was talking about the TV title. keep them out of the freaking tag team division. But now you've just dropped out one of your an established tag team to them. Now, the question I have for you guys, and I'm going to get my answer first, and I'll let you guys get into it, is how much does Camille's coming out, being a distraction, factor in for you on how it ended? For me, it doesn't. It still shouldn't have changed the outcome that the other team should have won. Her distraction was more to set up her interactions with Thunder Rosa at the end, which we can talk about after we're done with the tag team, because I actually had a problem with that too. And I didn't buy it, and I didn't like it. So, Kevin?
Okay. First of all, before I go into this, I forgot to say to everybody, I'm really happy to be here. I'm glad to be hanging out with you guys tonight. Pretty pumped up. Thursday nights have become a thing. So all the guys in the chat room, or girls if there's any in there, glad to see y'all. Glad to be here. Love you guys. I'll probably say it again because I'm feeling good tonight. Okay. I wanted to make a really astute observation here. There was zero lack of talent on the show tonight. On this show that we're talking about. Like this show was stacked with talent. Just think about the names that let's just rattle off some names. You had Aaron Stevens, Kratos, Vic Aldis came out, Camille, Thomas Latimer, Chris Masters, The End, both of those guys. You had Jack Stain, you had Crimson. I don't know why Slice Boogie and his boy was on there, but moving right along, you had our main event with Rosser, and you had our boy Pope. You had Melina come out. You had Thunder Rosa come out. You had the Taryn Terrell. You had Velvet Sky. You had Tim Storm. I mean, this show was absolutely stacked with talent. So, this is what I'm going to say, because first of all, the last thing I want is anybody on this show coming after me trying to beat me up, because they probably could. Though I would give you a run for your money even today. But all the wrestlers on the show are super talented. I think what you guys are going to notice as we, aside from, I'm sorry, but I don't think Slice Boogie and his partner belonged on this show. Nor do I think they should have been someone that won, but we'll get to that in a minute. It goes down to the way the show is booked, the pacing, this is where we're going to say we have a problem. And I think all three of us will agree on this, and I bet you our whole chat room agrees the same thing, is that you've got all this talent, you've got this great production, you got a beautiful ring, and it's just a head scratcher as to what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think that's where where I think all of us are gonna agree and kind of scratch our heads and go, with all this talent, honestly, Devin, keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. And with all the finishes that I've seen with the NWA and the Power and all that since they've been back, if there's ever a time to have one of those blah finishes where everybody looks like they're having a conference at the end, this was that match. This was that match, because you don't need you don't need a pinfall to get over what you're trying to get over in this match, because you need the end. And again, I was a little critical of Pero, but honestly, I want to see more of that team. I just want to see Pero a little more vicious, but that's not the word, not a big thing. You need the end in your show to carry some weight, because they're a legitimate tag team, and whatever they're doing lends credibility to your entire program. So again, I think you're going to find a theme throughout tonight that if we're unhappy with anything, it's not the talent, it's not the production, it's the booking crew and what they're doing. And I'm just not, again, the reason we have a term in entertainment called foreshadowing is because we actually want to know where you're going and what you're doing. It's actually important to tell us what you're going to do before you do it. Not everything look like it's thrown together in a surprise. Anyways, we can move on or we can camp here. I'm good either way.
Well, so let's move on because we like to keep the show about an hour, and we're already like 30 minutes into it. We still got some more to talk about. There was the interview with the tag team champions. I do want to address that because that was a little confusing to me as well, because last week we had that spot where Aaron Stevens with Kratos is just keeping his mouth zipped shut. We had Sal Renaro, the kid, show up and ask for that tag title match, and Aaron Stevens more or less obliged a week ago. But then on Tuesday night, when Sal Renaro came out asking for the title, we see a very different Aaron Stevens that's been portrayed the last month, right? Because ever since he got that world title shot and he was turning over a new leaf in the memory of Joseph Hudson, he was going to be a new guy. But we saw some visions, some remnants of that old Aaron Stevens, who was like, well, yeah, you're going to get a title shot, but you don't even have a partner. And it was very condescending, very heelish, and it wasn't like this baby face that they've been trying to like push at us. And what did you think, DK? I mean, did you feel like this perhaps was a slip in character, or what was going on?
Well, I don't know. To me, it made him the baby face because Renaro's the heel.
Okay.
Because he's this goofball, and I'm using heel and face based on who I'd want to cheer for. But Sal's coming out in this goofball character that I don't particularly want to see. He's challenging for a tag team title, even though he doesn't have a partner. It doesn't make sense. I mean, our world tag team champions are in a storyline feud with one small Prince Pigtail guy, as somebody pointed out, and what? Why do I care? He's not coming across as a sympathetic underdog character of, oh, me and my partner Jenny here, we just want a chance to prove ourselves. We want to work with the best. He's out there quoting songs with phone numbers, giving the old WWE or WCW 900 run about what, which one. And it's, I mean,
900, 909, 9900. Mean Gene Okerlund.
I wanted Stevens to be snarky with him. I would have been snarky with him. We know Kevin would have just walked over and slapped him in the face.
Well, DK, you're a heel, though.
No. I am a misunderstood face because I only want the best. Just to kind of, I didn't get my chance to do the spiel, but yeah, like, the other saying, look, I can't fanboy and say, oh, it's great just because it's NWA. Yeah, I'm only buying these things because it's the NWA and I support it. But I can't just say it's great. I want the NWA better. I want the NWA audience to grow. And you see, and what I'm saying is that the current product that they put out these last 3 weeks is going to help them grow. And in my view, okay. And yeah, I didn't get it. I prefer, Stevens has been a face, and he's been a successful face, still in kind of a snarky character type thing. I don't know if he is or not. I don't know if he and Kratos have patched things up, kissed and gone out to dinner or whatever. Hopefully, if they were doing that storyline, they'll drop it. And if he returns to being a heel, I'm good with it. He's an outstanding heel. It's just, I don't get the storyline. I don't care about this storyline. Get the other guy a partner, let them be crushed in about 72 seconds, and then move on to something else. Because what I really want to talk about is the Thunder Rosa Camille confrontation, or lack thereof. So, Kevin, what did you think about the tag team champions?
We don't have to belabor the point. I think you're right. I think both you guys are right. It's a little confusing. And again, I think that these storylines have to be have a little more foreshadowing and be a little more telling of what they're doing, so that we can actually follow along. Because look, I did this for 15 years, and there's a difference between good mystery, where I'm like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen, I can't wait to find out, and then what are they doing? Is this I don't even follow this. So that's kind of a lot of what we're getting right now. And man, bring back the old Aaron Stevens, like, please. He's so strong on the show like that, and he won me over like that. Like, I wasn't sold on him really, and then man, he started putting the gi on. I mean, it was just a real good heel, and I really miss it. So you can move on as far as I'm concerned.
So that brings us to, of course, the Thunder Rosa promo, as she was going off on, first screaming at Camille, which didn't really lead to anything. And that altercation left me scratching my head, because why come out there? Thunder Rosa's connection to the end had nothing. There's no connection there. Why are you trying to make something happen? And then nothing happened. Then she goes to the announce booth, and they start talking to, Kyle Davis, and then Taryn Terrell comes out, and then Melina comes out. DK, I know you have a take you want to share on that. Why don't you tell us what you were thinking?
Yeah, go ahead.
It confused me as much as the tag team match did. Not so much that Thunder Rosa came out after the last 2 weeks of being, speared half to death. You kind of half expect her to, come out and be confrontational. But why is Camille, the baddest woman on the planet, who speared Tim Storm and other guys, hiding behind Vladimir and Masters? I mean, that didn't make sense at all to me. It only would have worked to me if somebody had come up behind Camille then at that point. But that didn't happen either. So it's we know Camille's not a big talker, but I mean, to me, it seemed like it would have made more sense for Vladimir and Adonis or Masters or Full Nelson guy who, back away, step aside, say, hey, you want to take her, you go ahead and try. Because she's already cut you in half 3 times.
Well, go ahead.
Well, and just to get to the podium part, and I'll kind of wrap my entire thoughts on this segment. So then she gets to the podium, she's still yelling at them, but now we're not seeing what's going on in the ring anymore. And then they go away, and they come back, and she's still yelling half English, half Spanish. I wasn't really sure what she was saying. Taryn Terrell comes out as a bubble-headed blonde.
But you liked her because she kind of looked like Alexa Bliss. Come on.
No, I like Alexa Bliss. I did not like this presentation of Taryn Terrell, and it didn't fit with the rest of the thing. And the Melina comes out, and so we're all wondering, is Thunder Rosa doesn't look happy to see her. Is she with Thunder Rosa, or are we just waiting on the turn? Because, right now, if I had to guess, why is there a zombie running across the screen?
I loved it.
Right now, if I just had to guess, I would say we're more likely to end up with Melina Terrell as a team. I mean, just based on the way wrestling works, so hey, somebody throw me the curveball. I'd like to be proven wrong on it. So, I mean, those are my thoughts on just that whole segment area.
I agree with both of you guys. Like, I feel like this didn't accomplish what I think they wanted it to. And if you wanted to bring Thunder Rosa out so that she could be interrupted by Melina and Taryn Terrell, they could have done that completely divorced from the previous match. There didn't need to be Thunder Rosa chirping at Camille. And if I don't know, if somebody comes and beats me up in the end of my match the week before, and then I come out during their match, I'm going to go after him. Kev, what? I mean, you tell me. You've been in this ring before.
Well, I think. Okay, so newsflash. It's professional wrestling. It's a work.
Ring, ring, brother.
We are telling stories, okay, and good storytelling is like, you know, I'm gonna go over there. Now come follow me over there. That's just simple, you know. And you ever had a conversation where you're thinking something, but what you're thinking is not actually coming out the way you want it to come out? See, this is what I think's going on is they think that we know what's going on more than we actually do. And I don't think we quite know what's going on like that they want us to, and I think they need to reel in some of the complicatedness of the stories and really just get back to really just basics. Because like I said early on, we all agree the talent is not the issue. And you just gotta let the talent go out there and be the talent. And right now I feel like you're jumbling it all up and you're really limiting what the talent can do with way too much extra stuff. And I feel like there might be a little sound going on in the background. Is anybody else hearing that? Or is it just me?
Just you.
Okay. Cool. And in like our just to jump onto our chat room too, you know, it's like the writers, the stories, the less writing. Oh, that's Devin. You know, I think so. I just think we need to just reel it back in a little bit. A little more wrestling in the matches and less storytelling, like simple storytelling, would
more
really go.
Please.
Yeah, and just will go a long way. So I think we're about to get to the segment of the show where let's try our best not to just. We're gonna state the obvious. I think everybody's gonna think what we think. I don't feel like we're gonna have to just kick the dead horse. But Jay, why don't you go ahead and lead us into the segment of the show? It might be one of the most disappointing segments of NWA POWERRR's short.
You're not talking about the Murdoch promo, right? Because we had the Murdoch promo, and just real quick, because I'm trying to keep this chronologically in order, and I don't want DKM to call me out for not following chronological order again. We got the Murdoch promo, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel like he's more upset with Aldis than he is with Adonis. Did you guys get that feeling?
Say that again?
He's more upset with the world's heavyweight champion than he is with the man that beat him for the national title.
Might be because that's who he might be fighting, coming up soon.
I mean, I saw this in the chat room on Tuesday when we did the pre-party, and somebody acknowledged that, you know, when James Storm lost the national title, that's when they projected him forward to challenge for the world's heavyweight championship. And I feel like that might be something that they're gearing up towards. And without a true number one contender for the 10 pounds of gold, and without an established top babyface, that I think by default that might fall to Trevor Murdoch, which I don't necessarily hate. I just wish they had more time to build him up as a real challenge. Kevin, what did you think about that?
You know, I just, as long as I get a healthy Murdoch, I'm okay with it. I don't want to see the Murdoch with his neck brace on and his ribs bandaged and his headband on and all that. Look, that's fine every now and then, but it's a little overplayed, a little played out. I want to see a good heavyweight championship match. And, you know, let's be careful what we wish for, Jay, because when they try to build stuff and everything, we see what they do with it. So, you know, I might just be happy with a short build and a good match. I'll be happy with that than some kind of long build and then a match we never get. Eli Drake.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, that good point. DK, I mean, what are your thoughts? You feeling like us?
Basically, I wasn't over or under impressed with the interview itself. He had the neck brace. Hopefully it'll disappear here soon. Even if he has to take a couple of weeks off.
I mean, he was yelling and screaming like he didn't have a neck problem. So I mean, he should be close to recovery after that.
Yeah. So yeah, they are using this as a gateway to put him in against Aldis. And again, I think this is where we get into the keep it simple, stupid. Is that we've already seen that Aldis and Murdoch can have a good match. They had a good match on one episode prior to the pandemic. So we know the two of them can put on a good match. So Aldis is the world champion, and you don't really need much more storyline as to why you want to challenge him. Like sometimes people go, oh, well, what's the story? Why is so-and-so fighting the world champion? Oh, because he wants to be world champion. He doesn't have the world champion doesn't have to insult your mother for you to want to fight him. You want to fight him so that you can be world champion. And so, hey, as Kevin says, if we get to see a healthy Murdoch, if we get rid of all the neck braces and tapes and injuries, and we go, hey, he's taking 2 weeks off and he's gotten better, and he's currently on morphine or something, so he doesn't really feel any pain. Then I want to see the two of them put on good matches. I mean, I want reasons to watch. I don't want a one and done, or there's just a clean finish and everybody goes, oh, that was a great match. I want to see a storytelling in the ring, right? That's what wrestling is. Storytelling in the ring. And then what you can't tell in the ring, you tell outside of it. And so, I mean, Jay, isn't that the way it should work?
I mean, I agree 100%. Remember, the storylines are to help push matches, but some matches don't need that push. A title match doesn't, like you said, doesn't need all that extra baggage or all that extra dialogue. You have the world title. That means you make the most money. That means you get the most celebrity. That means you are the star of the show. There's no other reason for me to challenge for you, that title. Simply put, that you have something I want, period. And anything more than that just seems silly. When Kevin was the World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Chase Owens didn't come after Kevin because Kevin had a better looking cape than Chase Owens. Or anything ridiculous. It was because he held the title and that Chase Owens thought he was the best and Kevin knew he was the best, and that's why they fought over the title. Nothing more than that. Nothing more was needed than that. So I think that's just stuff like this is where we say the NWA gets a little convoluted. We didn't need this storyline to build up to it. I think, in my personal opinion, that if Adonis would have beat Trevor Murdoch cleanly, and Murdoch went through that process of winning matches again and getting back into top 10 contendership, that would have done more to build up to a match with he and Aldis than all this other stuff that I don't feel is really necessary. But then again, I do want to say this. I know that they're only in week 3 of television, and I know that the plan is that they're going to be going to pay-per-view at some point. They need to establish heels and faces and challengers and champions so that as they move forward, they can move forward in the right direction. It's just, I don't necessarily agree with the direction that they're moving forward to. So,
I think, and I want to piggyback off on that with a quick statement, and then you take us into some deep waters. You have the national championship, you have the television championship, you have the heavyweight championship, you have the tag team championship. There's your 4 storylines right there, and the women's championship. You got 4 storylines right there. Everybody's chasing the champions. There's nothing actually wrong with Murdoch losing the national title but still being the #1 contender. There's nothing wrong with that because he was the national champion for a while, which makes him the #1 contender to some extent. So if he loses the belt, then he still has claim to be the #1 contender. He's already, he's been champion. That's just kind of how it works. So I'm with you guys. Like, listen, if the stories are just about winning championships, I mean, it's a sport. I mean, that's okay. So, anyways, that's it. All I got.
So then that takes us to probably the most disappointing match in Power history. I'm just going to say it like that because there is no reason on God's green earth that you put a tag team like War Kings, someone tried to tell me, well, the modern NWA fan doesn't know who this tag team is. And I say BS, man, because those guys, right, they were part of Crockett Cup 2019. Are you telling me that this fan base, the NWA Power fan base, wasn't there for Crockett Cup 2019? Before Crockett Cup 2019, they were also a part of the New Year's show that they did with Tried and True Pro Wrestling. That's where James Storm first challenged for the 10 pounds of gold. You tell me fans don't remember that? They were at the 70th anniversary show. This tag team has appeared 3 times for the NWA. 3 times. So I know they're not as solidified names like the Wild Card or the Rock and Roll Express because they ate so much of that time on Power. But this tag team isn't new to NWA fans. It's not new to modern NWA fans. If you're telling me that you can't book them as a tag team because the Power audience doesn't know them, well then educate them. They were on 3 of your pay-per-views, for crying out loud. More than that, this tag team could be your Legion of Doom. I mean, they literally used to come to the ring with Road Warrior Animal. And you want to solidify your tag team division, you bring in a group like Odinson and Paro. You bring in the War Kings, Crimson and Dane. I mean, those 2 teams right there, and then you put you have Stevens and Kratos, and you put in Tom Latimer and Chris Adonis. That's 4 really good tag teams that you could build something with, and you could do something with, and they missed the ball completely. Not only did this tag team lose the match, they looked terrible in losing the match, and they lost it to Slice Boogie, who, again, tons of potential I see in this kid, but he's still a kid. Tons of potential I see in him, but he's still green. And Mims, and I love Mims. Mims was one of the enhancement talents for the first 2 seasons of Power, and the transformation that he's made. I'm glad to see him in the ring. I'm glad to see him a part of the NWA still. I do not need to see him rolling up Crimson for a victory. I think that was an absolute joke. I think it was terrible booking. I have no idea what the NWA is trying to do by bringing an established tag team and have them do the job to 2 guys who aren't even going to be a tag team going forward. Furthermore, you took the former World's Heavyweight Champion, a man who held the Grand Slam of titles. He held the tag titles in Japan with Rob Conway. He is a former World's Heavyweight Champion, a former National Champion, a former North American Champion, and he went down for 10-15 minutes on a bump on the ring apron. And furthermore, no referee came out to check on him the entire time. Not only is that just bad booking, that's just stupid. That's the worst thing I've seen in NWA Power history. And I'm an apologist for the NWA, and I love Jax Dane. But what the hell are you doing with that guy, leaving him on the floor for 15 minutes while Crimson does a 2-on-1 match? It didn't make sense then. On rewatching it, it just made me angrier. What the hell? Kevin, try to explain this to me. Make it make sense.
There's really nothing you can say about it. Again, I go back to my point at the beginning of the match. The beginning of the show, that there's a ton of talent on the show, minus Mims and Slice Boogie. I felt like they were a huge step down from all the rest of the talent on the card for the evening. And I'm at a loss for words, because this is twice now that they've jobbed out the War Kings. They did it in that 4-way match too. They brought him out like we didn't know they were a team or something. Crimson is freaking awesome. I mean, Jax Dane is obviously a personal friend, and it's hard not to cheer on your friends, but I mean, Jax Dane, like you said, is as decorated as anybody in the modern era of the NWA. and they came out with Animal for crying out loud. I think they're teasing a breakup or something of that nature, and it's kind of funny because there's so many similarities between the teams, like these 4 teams that you're talking about that we saw on the show tonight, or the other night, with obviously the War Kings with some of their allusions to the Road Warriors. I think with the End, you have some allusions to possibly like a Demolition type team. You have Chris Masters and I don't care, I'll call him whatever, and Latimer looking more like, kind of like your heel work rate type team, maybe similar to like and I'm using the same era, like the Brainbusters or something of that nature, with maybe less technical savvy. And then you've got Aaron Stevens and Kratos, similar to maybe like IRS or something like that. I'm just throwing names out there, but you've got or the what is it, Money Inc. or something.
Yeah.
But you've got teams with personality and talent and ability and history together, and not even count. I know that Latimer and Masters don't have history together, but again, 2 talented guys together, makes a great team. And so I look at the teams that they've got, and I just think that, man, like we can just have matches, like just have good matches with some basic, we're all chasing the tag champions, we're all trying to win, and we do a little roundabout, and eventually one team gets the upper hand, and then you keep it, you make it the other teams fight for the number 1 contendership while the champions fight the current number 1 contenders. I mean, it's just not that hard. So yeah, I just don't want to belabor on this because I think we all know it was bad, and it again, you have to, if you're gonna do something like this, it's gonna be confusing. It's gonna be like this. You gotta tell us where you're going. Like, you don't have to tell us exactly the end, but you gotta leave us some breadcrumbs, like something to say, okay, this is why this is happening or something, because you're not gonna just tell the whole story in one night, but you do need to tell part of the story. You don't just go, you don't start a once upon a time ... and then 35 pages later you write the second sentence. I mean you got to give us something to tell us why this is happening, because it's not something that makes me want to tune in to see what happens next. It makes me nervous to see what's going to happen next, like what kind of crap is going to happen next, not like, oh man, I can't wait to find out what happens between Jax Dane and Crimson. So maybe the team does go through a little bit of a thing. But if this is how the thing is supposed to happen, I'm not sure, it doesn't tell me enough. I need to know, like, again, don't tell me the end, but tell me where we're going. Tell me what's going on. Like, give me something. Because again, it's storytelling. It's a work. Like, it's not supposed to be 90% mystery. It's supposed to be like 10% mystery. And the 10% is what we're chasing after. And so, not the other way around. Now we don't know what to chase after. We're just, what the heck? What's going on here? So, that's all I got.
DK, can I say something real quick? I know you have something to say. I just want to say something real quick because, thank you. I have to say this because on Instagram, and some of you guys follow us on Instagram, that's at the Alliance blog on Instagram. I did a survey. It was a scientific survey. I put up on our Instagram stories a picture of the War Kings, Crimson and Jax Dane, and I asked the poll question. Next NWA Tag Team Champions? ? That was it. I didn't say when they're going to win it. I didn't say how they're going to win it. I just said, will they be the next NWA Tag Team Champions? And 70 people saw that story. And 81% of the people that voted said yes. The War Kings are going to be the next NWA Tag Team Champions. I don't know if I put that survey up today, if that audience would still react the same way. DK, go ahead.
I'm scared to get started because I don't know if I'll be able to stop. I'm going to try and do this as briefly as I can. What the hell? I'm about to pay NWA bookers, booking committee, talent people, whatever, the absolute worst insult I possibly can. But did you freaking hire Vince McMahon to book this show? He loves to split up tag teams. And this is what caused me, when Jay was putting his rose-colored glasses on with the first tag team match, to say, no, I can't do that. Because I know this was coming. Yes, you can look at Thomas Latimer and Adonis and go, they're big, strong guys. They could make a formal tag team. You know, they would be competitive with, you know, the end. They should still lose, but they would at least be competitive. This match should, you know, I say Camille, when she comes out, should have 90-second matches. If it's 91 seconds, it's too long. This match is one of those matches. Hey, I like Slice Boogie, except for his name, from what I saw of him when he was on Primetime Live. Why are they using him like he is the hottest young talent on the planet? And more importantly, if you're choosing to use him for that, why didn't he get the win? Mims, a guy who was just destroyed, a guy who's been enhancement talent up until this point. Not that I have anything against enhancement talent. Yes, there are times they do need to, that they can move up. But, I mean, Jack State, a man who I've seen get smashed in the head with chairs and barely burnt, takes one of the worst looking bumps I've ever seen to hit his head on the hardest part of the ring apron, and he falls on the ground and he's out. And he stays on his back for a few minutes, and he rolls over on his stomach. I guess it's more comfortable or something like that for a snap. And he's out. Nobody's checking on him. Crimson should have been able to demolish the two guys in the ring in about a minute just by himself. And so the only lot on, if any of you watched NXT last night, in the whatever gauntlet match, wasn't a real gauntlet match, but they had last night for the challenger to the North American title, Bronson Reed took the exact same bump, and he took like three steps like a drunk man, and that was it. And I was supposed to buy that Jack Stane's been knocked out for 5 minutes or longer. The only logical thing I can come up with is that Jack Stane did it on purpose. That he didn't want to be in the match. He wanted Crimson to get beat up. And so he on purpose decided to lay that. It's the only thing I can come up with that makes even the slightest bit of wrestling sense. And I'm stretching for that.
Right. And I don't even think that's a good story, is breaking up one of your best teams when the division is fairly light. So that part doesn't make sense to me, but that's the only thing that looks believable to me. Is that's it. That's all. I can't imagine. Like, just think about it. We talked about WWE, or think about NXT, something of that nature, or AEW. Can you imagine? Can you imagine one of those like local kind of jobber teams, like beating like one of their top tag teams on TV? Like, can you even imagine that?
Don't you remember when the Multitude beat the Road Warriors?
I don't. I mean, you could still. Here's the other part. You could still progress this storyline and not have Crimson get pinned by no offense to men, but just it just I don't understand it. I'm okay moving on, because it just is one of the most forgettable but unforgettable, embarrassing scenes I've seen since I've been watching the NWA back. Probably the low light of the Power era, in my opinion.
I would like to just touch on this real quick before we move on. I see a lot of people commenting on Slice Boogie and his gear and all that. Look, Slice Boogie is not the problem. He's an up-and-comer. I think he has a lot of potential. I don't have a problem with him. And Mims, I actually really like Mims, and I hope down the road they can do something more with Mims than just the enhancement role that he has. He does have a certain likability. Those Atlanta fans, when there were fans in the attendance, really enjoyed him. He's not the problem. It's the booking. It's 100% the booking. This was not good. I don't know how anyone could spin this as anything positive. It made the tag team division look weak. And on a night, I'll play cards. I could go for the first match. I could be okay with that. I can convince myself that's fine. But this match, no. This was awful. This was terrible. I don't know whose booking idea it was, but it was bad. So, let's get to something that wasn't so bad. Let's get to something that was actually pretty good, and definitely the highlight of this episode. Maybe the highlight of Power so far in this season. And that's our boy, the People's Champion. Yeah, I'm calling him that. The television champion, the Pope, Elijah Burke, taking on Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser. I thought this was a phenomenal match. I know it was short. I'm not a big fan of the 6 minutes and 5 seconds, especially in the main event. But the match told the story. It was two good wrestling talents in the ring. They looked good. It felt good. It cleansed my palate of such a horrible booked match before. DK, what were your thoughts? Fred Rosser, Elijah Burke, TV title.
Well, I only have one complaint. It doesn't have anything to do with the match. But the NWA needs to be a little more consistent when they're announcing the guys, and especially their weapons. Pope went from 229 to 191 in the course of 2 episodes, and Rosser went from 220 up to 239. And they were both about the same size. So, I'm a big believer in using real weights. I know weights been worked forever, but if you're going to work on them, at least be consistent. That's my only complaint. That has nothing to do with the match itself. I enjoyed the match. I like watching these two. I mean, I can nitpick it. I can nitpick every match out there. But if you just sit back as a fan and you just want to watch some good old wrestling, hey, it did it for me. I liked the Pope. I thought the Pope did a good job. I thought there was good, subtle heel work by Rosser. It entertained me. I do hate the 605 time limit also. It should have been at least 10. And I mean, look, it wasn't the greatest match ever, but it's certainly been one of the better matches they put on the last 3 weeks. Both guys are talented. And most importantly, when Tyrus appeared at the end, he didn't get in the ring. So, and I didn't hear Austin Idol scream. So, I'm not going to complain. I don't really have any complaints about the match. I was entertained. Kevin?
I have to agree. The first, I would say, 3 minutes of the match, roughly. I mean, guys, Elijah Burke had a plan. And I could tell, like he had a plan. Holy moly! A wrestler goes out there and looks like he knows what he wants to do. And he's trying to execute on that plan. Man, I mean, it shouldn't be a shocker. It shouldn't be rare. It should be every single match should have something of that nature to it. You can tell that Elijah Burke is putting more into this than everybody else on every level. You can tell he's working more on his promos. You can tell he's working more on his in-ring stuff, and he's in shape. And so hats off to him because he is taking this platform that he's being given, and I feel like he's been maximizing it. And kind of like an announcer that used to be on this show, who was really, really impressive, who's now collecting probably a bigger paycheck than he was with the NWA over this WrestleMania weekend. You know, this could be a springboard for him, to use a wrestling term, because, man, like, his promos, he knows what he wants to say when he goes out there, and I think that's so important. And his ring style has improved so much over the last few matches, and to see him go out there and to exhibit, you know, modern style wrestling in an old school style show, and it looked like he knows what he's out there trying to do. I don't know. I think he really made Rosser look unprepared for him, and I don't mean that Rosser's not in shape. I don't mean he can't work. It's not a criticism on him. It's a Elijah Burke came out there more ready to wrestle than he did, and it showed. Rosser, I think, is you know, when you go out there with a guy like Burke that's got so much flair and so much pizzazz and so much razzle dazzle, it's amazing. It's amazing how, like, it can really make you look like you're kind of but again, you know, but it's just hey, you know, this is something and I would say this to Fred if he ever cared for my opinion. I'll say, hey man, you got to step your game up, and that's just it. I really would like to see the rest of the roster take this type of initiative and really grab a hold of their character, grab a hold of what they're doing, and realize that this opportunity, that this is a big opportunity. So I was pleased to see it. It was a fun match to watch. I'm with the guys in the chat. Give me 10:05, not 6:05.
I do want to bring up one thing here, that just to go on the whole this week. Not only was the main event have a short time limit, but the show was short. And, you know, we brought up before that we're having to pay for this. And even if it's not a lot, we're still paying. And so I didn't think that was a wise move to have a short show. They, in the previous seasons, they were often inconsistent in how long the shows would go. Some would go close to an hour. I think one actually went an hour and 5 minutes. Some would go, you know, as short as 40, which I think is closer to what this one was at. And it's like, you know, yes, you're free to not be in the bounds of normal TV things. Stick to a 1 hour time. Plan on.
Lame excuse, Devin, to cut your show off early.
Yeah, plan on putting out an hour of TV. And I feel like that was another bad call overall on the show. Jay, did you ever comment on the match? I'm sorry, I probably hit you off.
No, I thought the match was great. Again, I saw Terry McDermott post here on the screen, like, you know, this is what we pay for. This is what I wanted with the NWA. You know, I don't need Nick Aldis to cut a promo on every episode. I don't need tag matches with silly booking. But what I'm looking for is matches that go out there and do what they're supposed to do. And to Kevin's point, yeah, the Pope has gotten real good. And you know, one of the selling points that the NWA, I think, uses, because if you look at their track record, a guy like Eddie Kingston, who was very well known on the independent circuit before arriving in the NWA, never had a big-time contract until after his time with the NWA. You know, Ricky Starks, we love Ricky Starks. Kevin, you have a personal relationship with Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks doesn't sign a big-time contract without going through the NWA. I'm not saying that the NWA is a path paved to goal to a big-time contract, but if you put in the work in the NWA, it's going to pay off. Whether it be in the NWA or the WWE, like with you know, LA Knight, or the above-mentioned guys that are now working with AEW. So when you see a guy like the Pope, who his run in WWE is mostly forgettable. You know, he never held a WWE title. And when he was in Impact, he wasn't even wrestling. He was an announcer. You know, really the the crux of his work was done in Ohio Valley. That's where he won championships. So for him to be in the NWA and carrying a prestigious title like the television title, and to have these money promos every time he comes out there, he looks good, he sounds good, and quite honestly, to me, he's the only guy that should be challenging Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold. With all that being said, I love Fred Rosser. I really hope Fred Rosser sticks around. I hope Fred Rosser is the next TV champion. When in my mind, you know, we're gonna have this TV champion go 7 matches and cash in on Aldis. I hope Rosser's the next guy to hold the TV title, because I think Rosser's an absolute gem. No, he is not the Pope. Nope, he's not. But he's a hell of a good hand, and putting him in the ring with guys like Chris Adonis, or putting him in the ring with guys like Crimson, if that's what happens, or you know, Paro. I mean, I think he could hold his own, and I think he'd be really good. So, yeah, this match was great. This is what I want to see out of the NWA. More of this, please. But not just the main event. Let's put this on every match. Something close.
But I want to let me break in there, Jay.
Sure.
This is something too, though, and we kind of talked a little bit off air about my time with Championship Wrestling with Hollywood, and or see that, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Dave Marquez's promotion in California, and there were times, you know, like where they would ask me to do things on TV, and it wasn't just like, Kevin, go do this. Okay, you know, you negotiate, you talk, you have conversations, and so I know that these wrestlers on this show have to have a little bit of have to have some, if you know what I mean, and say, hey, look, you're not using me like that. The other side of it, the reason Elijah Burke or Pope and Fred Rosser's match was good is because of Elijah Burke and Fred Rosser. There was thought put into this match. They had a plan. Elijah definitely had a plan. And what I noticed on the other 2 matches is there was a lot of what I would call like impromptu type stuff. What we call calling it on the fly. Hey, look, I'm all about it. Like I'm all about it. I understand that everything can't be choreographed, so to speak. But see, there's a difference between plotting every single move and having a plan, having an idea of what you're going to do out there, not just punching and stomping and shooting them off and doing a couple moves. Having a plan, like having an idea, having a direction, and putting on a good match in terms of work rate. Again, that part I will put on the wrestlers, is that the talent was out there. Maybe the booking was a little goofy, but Pope and Rosser went out there, because honestly 605 is a little goofy. It's not the best booking in the world. I mean, it should have been 10 minutes, but they in 6 minutes made something out of it. So again, there were work rate issues all throughout the matches this on this show, not just the booking. And there were I consider promos work rate too. Having a plan on what you're going to say. There were some of those issues too. So I think a little bit of this, and this is my challenge to any wrestler that might actually hear me. I doubt it, but who cares? You know, have a better plan. Like, think a little bit more about what you're going to do when you go out there. Don't just wing it, because you can see the difference in Pope's approach and other people's approach. Nick Aldis is another great example. He doesn't go out there and not know what he's going to say.
Absolutely.
So again, these are standards that you have to follow, and I would challenge the wrestlers to follow those standards, or to step their game up, because no one's out there trying to steal the show.
When you look at Nick Aldis and Pope, and just how well they are with their promos, and how well they speak, and how they come out and have their plan, I think the biggest part of that is because they are themselves. Maybe turned to versions of themselves, but they're basically themselves. I mean, I don't have any problem buying that the Nick Aldis that's out there talking is probably pretty much the way Nick Aldis is. And I don't have any problem buying that. Pope is just an exciting, charismatic guy. And so they have their plans, they have their experience, and they know how to use it. And so, look, I'll give 3 pieces of Jay's camera is doing it again. I'll give 3 pieces of constructive criticism for this show. One is do interviews and stop the freaking interruptions. Part of the way these people get over is talking, not by having confrontations. Let everybody give their chance to get over by doing their promo without having somebody else come out and interrupt them. So that's my first thing. My second thing is we're looking for alternatives to WWE, AEW, and the like, not an alternative version of those. So, hey, I understand the pandemic's hard. You know what my favorite promotion currently is with this pandemic? Ring of Honor. Because they're putting on some hell of a good wrestling matches. And now they've worked stories into it. They started out with a pure tournament, what we were talking about earlier. A tournament to crown a champion. All these guys were there and they wanted to win a title. Nobody's calling, the other a mama's boy or whatever. What was the goal? The goal was to prove that they were the best pure wrestler in ROH. They told backgrounds, they told stories, they said, why do you want to do it? Maybe even too long, a few of those. But, there was a purpose. Now they got stories back in. Now you got Taven, Vincent, and Bennett, and some of these storylines in the Roosh with feuding with Brody King. That's it. Almost called him the wrong thing again. And so, they've worked these stories back in, and the stories have been logical as they worked them back in. They went perfectly with the idea of KISS, keep it simple. Stupid. And then, I also want people to understand that this isn't just, Devin, you're some old school freak, you just don't like modern wrestling. Look, I believe that the most talked about match that's going to come out of this WrestleMania week and a half was Walter versus Ciampa last night. There wasn't a clear-cut face. There wasn't a clear-cut heel. There was kind of a, favorite and underdog storyline going on. It was big guy versus smaller guy. It was for a title. I mean, yeah, they had had some interaction. There was a little bit of a story that built up to it. But, it was for a title. And it was 2 guys who are presented as badasses. They're different styles, a different build. Walter looks like a 1980 Soviet bloc era Greco-Roman wrestler. Ciampa's cut as can be. About 90 pounds difference between the guys. Both are presented as badasses. Both of them went in there and knocked the snot out of each other. You could really see the welts on Walter, who's a little more pale. When they got a close-up of Ciampa at the end, you could see his chest was literally swelling in spots and also bruised up. I mean, these guys put on just an excellent modern-day, hard-hitting, heavyweight wrestling match. And you go look at the polls today on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and everything else. Hey, what was the best match of the night? Oh, it was Walter versus Ciampa. There weren't 67 dives. Everything they did was believable. And I'll let Kevin chime in a little bit here. Talk about the hand, Kevin. What happened with the hand? Ringside Hall of Fame.
Well, like so many times when you see a match like that. So I watched the match as well. I think Walter is the best heavyweight in the world right now. You fight me over it because the guy is as good as it gets. And obviously, I'm a huge Tommaso Ciampa fan and have been since his NXT run. But you know, the guys had a plan, just like we've been talking about. Like both of them had an idea of what they were going to do when they went out there and they executed it. And so many times you see these matches where the smaller guy working the big guy, the small guy works the leg. It really throws off the fun that the match can be when you got a guy limping around out there all the time. So everyone knows Walter has the most deadly chops in the world. He'll literally just crush your sternum. And so Tommaso just starts working his hand. And in my mind, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? And so to me, again, I know we're talking about NXT, but the idea is we're trying to get you to understand like what a good story is and how you can tell a good story in a match. And, you know, I would say this. There are a lot of talented guys and really, honestly, this is what made Pope's match the best match on the card. Was he had a plan, he had an idea of what he wanted to do, and he went out there and actually executed. And again, like Devin said, it's believable, and two guys last night went out there and executed. And that's all we're really asking for, is two guys to go out there and execute. And wrestle, and let your talent show out. Yeah.
That's it.
So, I mean, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Of course, this is... I know it sounds negative, guys, but this is honestly a lot of fun for us. We're not negative people. Maybe DK is, but Kevin and I are very positive people. And we do enjoy the NWA. And there's so much potential there to see something good happen. And, you know, we talk about this because... You know, there's this negative vibe on Twitter and on Wrestle social media that if you complain about something, you're being toxic. And that's not what we're doing here. This isn't a toxic environment. What we're looking to do is hopefully bring attention to areas that we think can be improved. If you, the fans, demand for things to change, things will change. Now, I'm not asking anyone to go out there and email Billy Corgan and say, hey, go watch J. Cal's show and hear what they have to say. No. But we want to see the change happen, and we want to keep fostering this relationship with you guys, the NWA fans, and we want to keep talking about how it can be better. Because look, we are only 3 weeks into this relaunch of the NWA, so if things take time, then okay. And DKM said this last week. We will be the first ones to acknowledge when something was good. We'll be the first ones to celebrate it. And I mean, like the Pope and Fred Rosser match, we love that. We want more of that. So, with that being said, if you like this podcast, please click like, subscribe, and follow. We're on all social medias at the Alliance Blog. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You're either watching us on YouTube or Twitch. You can hit the merch store and get cool t-shirts like this one. That's an homage to the old NWA showcase. I love this shirt, although I can't display it properly. And then, Kevin, where can they find you on the social medias?
So you can check me out, Kevin Lee Fraser, on Twitter. You can also see Kevin Lee Fraser on Instagram. If you can see my name on the screen, just throw a Lee in there, all one word. If you want to check out my wrestling stuff, you can go on Google and just Google Kevin Douglas wrestling, and you'll find photos, videos. Do the same thing in YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel with a lot of my old matches. It's Kevin Douglas 247.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. Kevin Douglas 247. And then also, if you want some of my motivational stuff, it's just Kevin 247. So there's where you can check me out. You can also find me on Facebook, Kevin L. Fraser. You know, I'm not too crazy on social media, but I'm on there, and I do put some stuff out there.
And of course, DKM. How can people find out more about you and your positive outlook on life?
Twitter at DKMFWTX. I'm a sports combat fan, and that includes boxing, MMA, amateur wrestling, college, international, politics. It's also a combat sport.
No joke.
And occasionally pro wrestling. So, you know, if you want to hear my interesting opinions on things or congratulate Olympians, that's where you do it.
Well, again, guys, it's been a blast. We appreciate you guys being here. We're going to call it a night, and we'll see you Thursday to talk more NWA POWERRR. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches.